back in 6th grade, my mom married someone that wasn't exactly the nicest person alive. In fact, even before she got married to him, I knew he was bad from the beginning. But I didn't have the guts to tell her that. So I stayed silent for over 7 years. Let's get into the tea of my very mentally abusive stepdad. Oh, fuck! So, what was that? So, in the beginning, after I ended up leaving my uncle's house because we were having Christmas dinner there, my nan dropped me back off at home. But then I noticed my mom in her chair, sitting with someone else in the other recliner chair. And all I could think of is, who is this guy? I won't say his name because, ironically, his name is also the same name as my uncle. So, for the context of the video, For the context of this video, we're just gonna call the lovely prick, Aro. Because Aro was quite a jerk in the Twilight movies. I had to think of something, okay? So we're putting a placeholder name on there. It's okay. So my mom was like, this is Aro. And I'm like, who? I didn't get a good feel from this guy the moment I looked at him. He just looked evil. I just didn't get a good vibe from him. Basically, kind of like Rebecca Parham from Let Me Explain Studios, I have a very good intuition for spotting bad people right out the gate most of the time. And he was setting off many alarms in my head, but since I knew better than to judge a book by its cover, I didn't say anything, and let alone I lived to regret that. Pretty much, he became my mom's boyfriend and then moved in with us when I started 4th grade. He was fine at first, but then his true colors started to show. More like when I hit freshman year of high school. When I was in freshman year of high school, I was having a lot of trouble swallowing, and that's when I got diagnosed with dysphagia. And my lovely stepdad at the time thought I was being dramatic and tried to gaslight me and saying that I was just doing all this for attention just so I wouldn't eat like everyone else. Which wasn't true. I'm literally medically diagnosed with dysphagia. I got my throat stretched 2 times. You know that. Why are you trying to gaslight me into saying that's not true? Basically what dysphagia is, there's multiple types, but basically with me, food can get stuck really easily in my throat. And if I do not have a water bottle on hand, oh boy, are we going to have a crisis in like 5 minutes. because I could start choking, and that won't be good. Hell, I can't even take pills sometimes because certain pills get stuck in my throat. That's why I have a pill crusher, to smash up my pills that I take from my pots. I know, it sounds weird, but yes, but it's true. He tried to gaslight me, saying I was being dramatic, saying that it was all in my head, it was a bunch of baloney, and I just needed to eat what everyone else was and stop being picky. And then this is when the promises came into the mix. He would make me promise to eat the food that was being served at the dinner table. But me in my head, knowing I physically couldn't eat what was being served because it was a choking hazard for me, I didn't know what to do. If I didn't do the pinky promise that he made, he would get mad at me. But if I did do the pinky promise and then broke it, it'd be worse. Which is why promises are really hard for me now. Basically, promises were his way of manipulating and controlling me. Well, one of the many ways, anyway. I would make promises with him to keep him happy for at least a little while. But food would still get stuck in my throat whenever I tried to swallow it. So whenever he wasn't around, or he left the table or looked away, I spat out the food really fast so he wouldn't notice, to save my own skin. He also had a lovely rule, he also had a rule for all of us, but I think he specifically made it for me, which was no food in your rooms. I think he mostly did this for me to pretty much prevent me from eating the food I wasn't supposed to, so I could keep his promise. But this is where things get very hypocritical with him. He would bring food up to my mom and his shared bedroom and ate it in there, left garbage in there. And sometimes he would even eat my applesauce and yogurt that Mom got specifically for me. Wasn't happy about that, but he didn't care. He never did. It was hard. But I couldn't do anything. I was a minor. Like, he would listen to me, right? Why would he listen to me? So, but after seeing that he had food in his room and garbage in his room, and he let his own two sons get away with it, I thought, how is this fair? So I would sneak food into my room so that way I could actually frickin' eat, because I couldn't eat what was being served at the dinner table because it was a choking hazard and a half. But guess what? When he caught me doing it, guess who got scolded and a yelling for a lifetime? Me! But he let his sons get away with it, and he did it himself, so why was he yelling at me for it? And it got worse later on. Whenever he found food hiding in my room when I hid it or tried to, he would take the food out of my room and said, basically to my face, you either eat what's being served for you for dinner or you don't eat at all. And guess who went weeks at a time without eating? And ended up getting a little bit anemic and sick because of it. Me. I did. He loved having control over me. Hence why I actually got my first job at Abus1ve, to basically have a couple extra hours to escape him. It was a rough time. I'm trying to film, kitty. Really? I'm trying to film. You're not helping. As I was saying, yeah, I got my first job at Abus1ve, even though due to my very intense social anxiety and not wanting to be there, I kept going to work anyway. Because I couldn't stand to be in the same room or facility as this person that wanted control over me and put me on a leash. When I was a sophomore, things got worse. When I was a sophomore, Arrow brought another girl into our home. And she was staying in the basement, but they were doing bad things down there in the basement. Things that got CPS called on us for. He was doing meth in our house. And I'm pretty sure the girl was doing it too. Mom didn't really fill me on all the details because she wanted to spare my sanity, but all I know is that he was doing meth. And then CPS got called. After that, I kinda went silent. Got apathetic, really, and hid. I stayed in my room whenever he was home, and then when he was at work, I would finally come out, eat something that would spare me through the rest of the day, and then re-hide in my room again. Barely coming out, barely socializing. And then it ended up getting worse when Mom finally divorced him. Well, yeah. Before Mom finally divorced him, we were living in the townhouses way over that way. But, he and the boys were staying with us for the time being since they had nowhere else to go. Mom and him got into a very big argument downstairs, and I heard everything. Everything that was being said. Everything that was getting... Yeah. Basically, he was pretty much calling me a spoiled brat, like my sister. And he said a lot worse. Pretty much kind of insulting me pretty much 90% of the time. And since I can't handle yelling or arguments very well, especially when I'm getting insulted in the middle of it, I had a big mental breakdown. I took a thumbtack to all my stuffed animals and ripped them to shreds. My poetry book got destroyed in the same night. I didn't know how else to release all the feelings I was feeling inside of me. I didn't want to hurt myself. I didn't want to hurt others. So I had to destroy physical objects to pretty much get all the anger, hurt, everything that had been bottled up for years out. The thing with Ara was, he was a very master manipulator. He loved to gaslight, and he liked to degrade me and make me feel like I was the problem. But since Mom didn't know, but Mom was happy at the time being in the beginning to spare her, I said nothing and just took the hits. But now, promises are scary for me. Because now whenever I feel like I accidentally break one, or go back on what I said, I feel like I'm going to get punished, yelled at, degraded, and insulted. Hence why when I was in high school and people asked me if I promised anything, I just said I don't make promises and walked away. Because promises at that point scared the shit out of me. Because at the time being, promises felt like I was pretty much selling my soul to a demon. And I felt like I was tied on a leash. Turns out years later, my aunt said that he actually isn't above hitting a girl. So knowing that now, I would say I'm lucky, because knowing the fact that he isn't above hitting girls or anyone, knowing the fact that he could have hurt my mom or me, I consider myself kind of lucky for that. But to this day, I don't like eating in front of people. And when people tell me what I can and can't eat, I just shut down and don't eat at all for like weeks at a time. And I don't like eating in front of people for multiple reasons, him included, but for other reasons too. But I'm also scared of promises, because the promises he made me make were promises he knew I couldn't keep. He just liked the aspect of control over me. Which is why for the longest time, while we were living in the same house with him, I didn't want anything to do with males period. So yeah, that's the end of this video. I know it was a long one, but yeah, bye guys.